What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are here at Lake Julian Disc Golf Course for the in the bag with the distance driver portion of the bag. This one you're going to see two different repeats from the fairway driver video because two of these are that in-between slot between distance driver and fairway driver, and they are 9 speeds, but they're on the flippy end of 9 speeds. So for me, the way I kind of have my bag laid out, I have the straight and then slightly flippy, slightly overstable versions, the straight, slightly overstable, and as you move up, then you have the blatantly overstable option, which typically tends to be 1 speed slot down, and you have the flippier option, which typically tends to be 1 speed slot up. That being said, we're gonna go ahead and we're not gonna throw the we're gonna throw one of the flippier ones. This is probably my go-to right now. I am loving this for just straight shots, fairway shots, distance shots, open shots. It flips up, it fades, it really doesn't do too much else, and it's amazing at that. So let's go ahead and start off giving some discs a rip. This is the Mint Discs Diamondback and I believe it's Eternal plastic. It's essentially Proton, and this is the longest pad for hole number 1. Let's see if we can. Oh yeah, forgot about the crosswind. I'm gonna need to hang them out. Some of these discs we're not gonna get to throw, specifically the flippiest disc. We're not gonna throw that one. There is a crosswind, so honestly we might just rip everything. But we're gonna go most overstable to least overstable. Excuse me, right here. Most overstable that I bag, that I don't know that I'm gonna need super beef, that's the Skystone. If I need anything bigger or more overstable, I have a gravity bomb sitting in the car. I can just reach in, grab it, stick it in there. I know that the gravity bomb is beefy. This one gets me distance while still being overstable. But it wants to fade, and really all it does is want to fade. Next up, instability slot. This is a Halo Star Boss. This one's only 168, but it's Halo and it's Star, and it actually does a pretty decent job of fighting the wind. Of course, if it's a crosswind, good luck making it turn. This is a DD3. It's a Cloudbreaker DD3, and it's Horizon. It's metal plastic in the middle and C-line around the rim. Feels really good, flies really good. This is my go-to if I need a lot of distance, but I need to make sure that it fades and not turn too much. This is usually what I'm reaching for. Because I can get some flip up out of it, but if the wind is too much or it's not coming off the right side, it's a little understable for headwind. This is my big bomber, 13 speed Mayhem, Proton Mayhem. This one goes the furthest out of all my discs if I can hit it right and if I can ride the wind right. This Mayhem is not like the stable Mayhem. This one actually flips and turns. And that was a nice run. The other disc that actually we are going to go ahead and throw it. It's the Proton Shift 9.5 or 9.6 -3.1. It is understable. It does want to flip, and with this crosswind, I think I can keep it on enough hyzer to not flip into the lake. So I basically fairway or distance driver style shots with mid-range power. And that one's really in here for distance drivers because that disc is the one disc in my bag that I know I can throw a roller with. If it gets windy, or even if it's not too windy, it's understable enough that if I crush it nose down with a little bit of anhyzer, we're getting a roller out of it. Okay, we're gonna go with the 3 straight options. We have 9 speed, 12 speed, and 13 speed. And yeah, these really are the straight options. This DD3 is just not that overstable. And the Boss is working for right now. I don't know if I feel super confident or comfortable with the Boss rim. It's just a little bit too big. It's a little bit too close to that like ESP nuke that some people just physically can't hold on to. The Boss kind of feels a little bit like that, whereas the Mayhem feels more comfortable. Definitely more comfortable than 13 speed though. Pretty straight. That one's definitely gonna fade at the end if you can give it enough hang time to fight out the turn. If it's windy, it may not come back. There's a Mayhem, a little bit straighter, and even though it's a 13 speed, it pushes straighter as it fades. So this really is the distance bomber. Flips up, pushes straight instead of left. Pushes straight out there. You know, maybe if I could not throw it into the ground. But I was kind of throwing the PD in this slot, the flippier PD, the one that I dyed half and half. This disc is filling that slot really well right now. Just flip up, maybe a little bit of a turn, but it's always gonna finish. And it just, whichever angle you tend to hold it on, whether that be hyzer or anhyzer, it tends to hold it very well. So I can get it to flex, but it's pretty neutral. It really does just like to hold whatever line you throw on it. And it's very similar to the method that I throw. Hyzer it holds, anhyzer it holds, but there's always gonna be that tiny little bit of a finish at the very end, which, I mean, that's so extremely useful on so many courses. So the wind that was kind of pushing us into the woods, not letting us get all the way across the lake, is now blowing in our faces, giving us a headwind. We're gonna throw the 3 stable distance drivers and their 3 different stabilities. We're gonna start with the most overstable one that I bag. That's the Skystone. This one's gonna need some flex. It's always coming out. Sometimes I grip lock it, but sometimes I grip lock every disc. The next up in stability, this one, if I throw with the anhyzer, it's definitely hitting those bushes. So this one's, I'm gonna try to hit flat, maybe a touch of hyzer. And I almost hit a squirrel. That one, so the PD2, you have to put it on anhyzer or it's not gonna get any turn. The Boss, it's kind of in that middle ground. And this one this wind might not be in too much, but some wind is just too much. Just a tiny bit too much turn that I'm looking for when there's wind. It's amazing when it's calm. I love it. I think I need to see if I can find something that feels more 12 speed than 13 speed. The Boss just feels a little bit too uncomfortable. So maybe next week we'll try to find that disc. We moved up to the shortest pad for hole number 12. We're gonna throw both the 9 speeds and then Cloudbreaker and Mayhem. the wind is, we switched up so that now the wind is more at our backs, a little bit more tailwind. So let's see why this 9-speed specifically is in the distance driver lineup. From so much hyzer, just straight up, pops up, super flat. If there's tailwind, or if there's crosswind from different directions, or if there's no wind, flippy discs go furthest. They just do. This one's not gonna quite do that. I'm gonna have to a little bit less hyzer. Very similar style shot, but you saw the drastic difference of release angles. One was steep hyzer, one was a soft hyzer, and you get both to just pop up to super, super straight. But if I were to need turnover, I just have to throw the shift on the same angle I threw the Diamondback on, and suddenly it goes really far to the right. Now, slightly up in speed, slightly up in stability. This one's only a little bit more stable than that Diamondback, but I think this one's a little bit less torque resistant or headwind resistant, even though it's a bigger rim. But again, with the tailwind, that's what's gonna happen. If I try to get this Mayhem a little bit flatter, and I get it to go straight with the tailwind. Remember, slightly flippier they are. Really big distance on tailwind. Oh, it's just in tight. I thought I made it around that corner. I am loving the Mayhem. I'm loving the Cloudbreaker. I think of all of these, Cloudbreaker and the Boss are the two that are, yeah. I like the Cloudbreaker, but when there's wind, I know that it's not gonna hold up. The Mayhem, it's not that overstable, so I already just know in my head it's not gonna do that. Whereas the Cloudbreaker makes me think it's gonna do that, and then it doesn't. The Boss is just a little bit too big for the slot. The rim is just a little bit too big, doesn't feel comfortable, so I need to find a 12-speed size rim. Let's go through one more set of drives and close this out. I'm gonna give you one more throw each with 5 of these discs, the Mayhem included, Boss, Skystone, Cloudbreaker, and Shift, and the Mayhem. All of these are amazing. There's a little bit of a headwind on this hole though, so we're gonna throw down in stability. So start at PD to work our way down and see how the wind affects each disc differently, because it is just such a windy spring and I need to know what they're gonna do. I threw it too low. That was bad. That one's good, it just doesn't feel comfortable. So it's gonna be in, but next week hopefully we'll find something that's not the overstable Mayhem. I wanna find something a little bit smaller rimmed. Let's see what this does when there's a little bit of wind. Oh, did a good job of keeping it. But yeah, it turns very straight. And if you don't keep it under the wind, it turns into very understable. I wonder how big I can get this Mayhem to go. Oh, I love that disc. And then, do you know why I have a flippy distance driver? Because sometimes you need a flippy distance driver, and sometimes you just need to throw it into the headwind and let it turn. that Crosswind was definitely not letting it do whatever roller things it needed to do, but that's my roller disc. But with a toe in, it goes so far. Mayhem is just, it creates mayhem. That's what, it's amazing. I love the Mayhem. Boss is good. It just, I have short fingers. I also have fat fingers, but I have very short fingers. So the wider the rim, just it becomes too uncomfortable to be able to throw confidently or consistently. Thus, you end up with, it's gonna fly the exact same way every time, but it doesn't fly the exact same way every time as the first time I threw it, because the first time I threw it, it felt more comfortable, and now it doesn't. Oh well, it's gonna stay in the bag for at least a little bit of time. Hopefully you guys are enjoying content like this. If so, please make sure to like the video. If you want to see new stuff, make sure to comment all of that down below, especially if you like this idea of how to do kind of in the bags, show what I'm throwing, why I'm throwing it, and also give you guys an opportunity to hone in on very specific discs. If you have any options or questions, or maybe you think that there's a different disc that I should be bagging in this slot, hopefully you guys are subscribing as well. It helps you guys out with these subscriber only giveaways. Definitely helps me out as well. And until next time, see you out on the course.